Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans and you're listening to the John Cedars channel from The Bunker. Now, if I've ever had a guest who needs no introduction, it's this one. She's an Emmy award-winning actress and producer. She's also an ex-Scientologist who has been fearless in exposing the abuses of her former church, both in her best-selling book, Troublemaker: Surviving Hollywood and Scientology, and in her hit A&E show Scientology and the Aftermath, the finale of which is almost upon us. Leah Remini, it's an honor to welcome you to the channel.
Thank you for having me, honey.
I know it's been a hectic morning for you, so I'm very grateful for you for squeezing me in. So just to go back to the beginning a little bit, there's a common misconception that you need to be stupid to get involved in a cult. Obviously, you and I would take issue with that. How would you answer that sort of claim using your own experience with Scientology?
Well, for me and for most, we are brought in as children, and our parents indoctrinate us into cults and cult thinking. And so that is all you know. And then it starts pretty early on in the indoctrination and the teachings of it's us against the world. And you start out with somebody who is a good person, who wants to do good for people, who wants to do good for themselves and their family. And so it doesn't start out with this kind of because people ask me all the time, well, you knew as you got older. Yeah, but what I was taught was that we are saving mankind. Is very similar to what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe. That Armageddon is coming and only the faithful will survive and then live in paradise, right? So in Scientology, it's similar in that we are saving the planet. And without Scientology, mankind is doomed. And so when you're getting people in, you're thinking, I'm saving them. You're not thinking you're hurting them. And your circle becomes smaller and smaller because, as you know, the teachings are anybody who's against this ideology is an enemy and should be shunned if you can't turn them. And it's the same with Scientology. You all your friends and family are in the cult, and if you decide to leave, you're basically on your own with no education, as with you guys. They don't look kindly on education, on higher education, which was very interesting when you did our program. That when I saw the videos of the, what are they called?
The JW Broadcasting videos. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but what are they called? The governing body videos?
Yeah, the governing body, yeah.
They're saying we're not going to need doctors in paradise, so why send your children to college? Yeah. There's no point, So if you leave after 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you have no education, no family support, no friend support. And in Scientology, if you join the Sea Org, then you are living with Sea Org members, you're living communally, you're not, you don't have an apartment, you live in dorms with other Sea Org members, and you basically get cut off even from your Scientology family when you join the Sea Org. And the Scientology parents sign over legal custody to Scientology. And so, it gets worse and worse as you grow up. So when people ask me, like, was there anything good in Scientology? Why would I ever want that for someone, to know what the end will bring them, the pain?
Indeed, although if you could go back in time and stop young Leah from joining Scientology, would you stop her knowing that you would go on to achieve with Aftermath as a direct result of your experience?
No, I believe that we are all put on a path for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not looking back in regret, but looking at the experience that you now have and then going, okay, why do I have this experience and what can I do to help others? And I'm sure that's the same for you.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of grappling, because you do kind of fantasize about what you would have said to yourself if you could kind of go back in a time machine. But I would want to leave, just because of the path I've been on, and you probably feel the same in your case. You just want to leave everything exactly how it is, because in my own case, I feel as though it's put me in a position where I can help people, and I'm sure you feel the same.
Exactly, because if I wasn't in for 35 years, and Mike wasn't in as long as Mike was, and by the way, Mike was the head of the Office of Special Affairs, which is the Department of Scientology, that is the Office of Dirty Tricks, and they're there to destroy anyone speaking out against Scientology. If we didn't have this experience, I don't think people would have come to us as they did, because they know that we know.
Yeah. Now, your book, Troublemaker, paints a picture of a free-spirited, independent-minded Leah that always struggled to fit into the mold Scientology tried to force on her. What was the final nail in the coffin that convinced you to break free?
Well, it was 6 years. It took me 6 years. I didn't just up and leave.
Yeah.
I tried to make it right. It was almost like I was begging them, like, please don't make this be true. You convince me to stay, convince me that you guys are not doing this to people. Convince me, please. It's easier, honestly, to be in a cult like Scientology. You are told what to think, how to think, who to like, who not to like. No Scientologist has their own opinion. If you notice, all celebrity Scientologists, all of the front groups of Scientology, all the Sea Org members, they say the same thing. It's the same thing. And that's because they aren't thinking for themselves, right? But Scientology says that that's what you do, right? But as I saw, I was like, well, listen, Scientology's by the book. It is by the book. When you read, you're there 2.5 hours a day minimum as a parishioner, 7 days a week, having people watch over your shoulder as you're reading L. Ron Hubbard's policies. And if you blink or yawn, you have a supervisor come up to you and say, come into the other room. They ask you what the definitions of the words are, the derivations. Like, it's a self-brainwashing cult. And so I was by the book. I'm a by-the-book type of person in general. And not having an education, I really felt like, oh, look at me, I'm so smart. Like, I'm reading these policies and I'm getting these certificates. They give you these certificates, written in calligraphy, and you just feel, and L. Ron Hubbard says this is like a doctorate's degree, like you're smarter than most doctors, you're smarter than most lawyers, you're the elite of the elite. So you create this false sense of person, right? That you are better than everybody else. And he actually says that. I mean, you are a Scientologist, so you are special. And that justifies breaking the law, that justifies lying to the police, that justifies obstructing justice. And I was in that mentality, Lloyd, so I know. I know what I've read over and over again, and we all learned the same thing. We all learned the same way. So I was very by the book. And when I went to Tom Cruise's wedding, and when I started to know him personally, I started to see a not by the book Scientologist. So I was like, wait a minute, so we do this stuff for celebrities like Tom, but not me or not Jenna Elfman, which is fine. We didn't put ourselves in the same category as Tom as far as an actor. But where Scientology is concerned, we're all supposed to be on the same page, getting the same reprimands, having the same, everything that's expected of me should be expected of every Scientologist, no matter what your name is. And I was seeing some really awful behavior, and I was seeing cracks in the upper, executive strata of Scientology, and I was like, you guys are supposed to be the poster, like you're supposed to be the example for us parishioners. This is the Sea Org. This is the elite, in uniforms, in military uniforms. And, we're supposed to respect and bow down to these people. And I'm wondering where a human being is, Shelley Miscavige, and I'm being attacked for asking. And Tom certainly knows where she is because he's best friends with David Miscavige. And I've seen what Tom has done to the parishioners who work for him and what they've been through for working for him or wanting to leave and start a family. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. So when I started to see that on top of senior executives like Mike Rinder leaving, Amy Scobie leaving, Claire Headley, Debbie Cook, and I started to see what Scientology was doing in response to what they were saying in the press, I was like, well, that's true. I mean, if this is true, or they're beating people up at the Gold Base where all the executives are, like, I want answers. I was going in to get answers. I was getting interrogated. I got sent to Florida for reprogramming because I said I didn't like what I was seeing from Tom Cruise. And it was becoming not anything that I've ever experienced. And I started looking on the internet, which is what they really rail against. And I just said, give me the answer. Don't tell me I can't look. I've already looked. Now give me the damn answer. Why are you putting up hate websites about parishioners? Why are you destroying families? Why are you doing these things? What are we doing? Now, I've read all these policies, Lloyd, but they likened SPs, suppressive people, which is what I'm considered, and anybody who speaks out, or anybody who goes to the police and reports a rape or being molested is labeled an enemy to Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard likened them to Hitler.
Yeah.
So that was my view of what a suppressive person was. So I never considered that I would be considered a suppressive person. I would never consider that Mike Rinder, Amy Scobie, Debbie Cook, who were high senior executives in Scientology, all of their lives in Scientology. Why are you doing this to them? This is not what we should be doing to people. If a son wants to talk to his mother and she's against Scientology, he should be able to.
Sure.
What religious organization destroys families, molests their own children, and then make the child responsible for that happening to them, and then obstructs justice when law enforcement comes in and lie? This is not a religious organization.
So the higher up you got in Scientology and the more you observed the behavior of kind of role models in Scientology, the more disillusioned you became. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't put up with the hypocrisy of it all. And I just saw the truth. When you wake up, man. Like, I just started looking. I started talking to everybody I could talk to who was in and left. And I started talking to mothers and children and adults now, but who were molested in the Sea Org, who were molested as children by their own parents. And I couldn't sit by. I could not allow it to happen. I just couldn't be part of it.
Sure. You actually mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned Tom Cruise, because I have a list of questions in front of me. And one of the questions I wrote down, which I was thinking she's never going to answer that. I obviously see Tom Cruise popping up in my Netflix. And I used to be a big fan of his films, but I can't watch his films anymore because of what I've heard you say and what I've heard others say. Should we be thinking of him as a cult victim or as a cult leader?
Both. I mean, I think at one point, like me, except Tom had more access to David Miscavige. Tom has been used by David Miscavige to threaten the staff, and because the staff believe that Tom is a deity. I mean, David Miscavige idolizes him and allows him to do things and get away with things that parishioners are not allowed to get away with, or even Sea Org members. And David Miscavige and Scientology produce videos that they show Sea Org members, the employees of Scientology, and parishioners how Tom Cruise is single-handedly saving mankind by his promoting Scientology. And so, yeah, I mean, he's even called Mr. Cruise, as in a military Mr., not like, being respectful. Or he's called Sir. And so he is very aware of David Miscavige and what is going on at the international base in Riverside, California. And he's very aware where Shelley Miscavige is, and he's very aware of the abuses that are going on.
I guess I struggle, Leah, because in every single film, I can't think of a single film where Tom Cruise plays a villain. He's always playing the good guy. And knowing what I know and knowing what you've told me...
As in life. I mean, as in life. If you talk to any actor who's worked with Tom, they'll tell you he's the sweetest guy, he's amazing. And at a time, he was a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know someone very close to him who does not want to be public, but she has said there was a time before David Miscavige got a hold of him and Marty Rathbun, another former senior executive of Scientology, who was speaking out but now has turned into a psychotic, got a hold of him, he changed. And that's what she said about him. And she spent an awful lot of time with this man, years and years with him, and she said he just changed. And so that but people who work with him, because Tom is very good at playing the good guy on and off screen, but people who know him intimately, who were in Scientology, know the real him, as evidenced by his cannot keep his family together, but yet he will stand in front of a congregation of Scientologists and demand that we all be better and we all get our shit together and we better start doing this and we better start doing that. And he wants lists of the people we're going to bring into Scientology, and we have to all kind of bow down to him. And behind the scenes, who he really is, I mean, he's not a person who's seeing his daughter. That's what I've read in the press. And, that says a lot about who the man is.
Do you think he's salvageable?
If he leaves, yeah. But I don't know that he will ever... The amount of power that you have in Scientology as a celebrity is like no other. It's not like a normal celebrity who somebody might tell them to F off if they're getting a little ahead of themselves. It's not... This is the kind of power where you have a $3 billion organization behind you and thousands of staff willing to do anything for you. Anything.
Yeah.
And I mean anything.
Now, since you left Scientology, you and Mike seem to have forged a very special working relationship that has produced 3 wonderful seasons of Aftermath. And I'd love to know more about how that partnership first began. Take me back to when you first were kind of waking up and you reached out to Mike. Was he surprised to hear from you?
Well, I was still in Scientology when I called Mike, and that's a big no-no. So my heart was racing, just being on the phone with him, because I knew he was considered a suppressive person, and I shouldn't be talking to him. And I let Scientology know that I was doing that, and David Miscavige thought that was a slap in the face. They called me in. They put me on the meter. They wanted to know what my crimes against Scientology were, my crimes against David Miscavige, my crimes against Tom Cruise, my crimes against... It is like there's heavy punishment for doing those types of things at your expense. It's thousands of dollars of interrogation. You're being watched. You're being filmed. The person who's doing the interrogation has an earpiece in, and they're being told what to say, or they leave the room, and the person who's watching is saying, get her to admit to doing this or that. And I was like, I'm talking to Mike. There's no need for you to do all this. I'm going to call every single person that has left Scientology, and I'm going to ask them. I'm doing my own investigation, and Julian Schwartz, who is a Sea Org employee, also a piece of crap, who has hidden crimes of children being molested, babies,
right.
Babies being molested in the church to protect Scientology. He was involved in my leaving. He was also involved with the Danny Masterson survivors. So this guy, Julian Schwartz, is just, he needs to just be in handcuffs, him and Dave Miscavige, and all of those who have hidden up these crimes. But I was talking to Mike, and I was telling him I'm talking to Mike, and he banged his hands on the desk, and he goes, "I'm doing the effing investigation here. You're not doing," like screaming at me. And I just looked at him. I said, "No, I'm doing my own investigation." "You don't do it," screaming and carrying on. But this is the culture of Scientology behind closed doors. And I would call Mike and tell him this is what happened. They want me to come in tomorrow. I was there for 6 weeks of interrogations before I actually just said, "F off, I'm done." And I told David Miscavige that I met with Mike, and he's like, why would you meet with my enemies?"
Wow.
And so, I told Mike that. Mike just kind of deals with that with a giggle. He doesn't get really affected by these things. But and from that I just kept talking to him, and I was crying in the beginning a lot because I was leaving something that I've known my whole life. And I was kind of back and forth, Lloyd, about I'm talking to the enemy, I'm not talking to the enemy. And I was like, I feel like I need to do something, Mike. You're all getting attacked. And Mike said, "Honey, you'll do something when it feels right, you know? It'll come to you." I was like, "Yeah, but you're doing Going Clear, and you're speaking on your blog and doing doing blog posts, and I'm not doing anything." And he's like, "You'll do it, honey, when it feels right. You'll do it when it feels right." And he never pressured me to do anything. And it was Amy Scobie who inspired the series. Her mother, Bonnie Elliott, who from hospice used her last breaths, her energy, and the energy that she had to film with me. And this was before I even had a show.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do with the footage. But her message to the world was, don't let this cult and cults like it destroy your life and your family. Your family's everything. Your friends are everything. And I called Mike and I said, hey, actually it was Marty Rathbun that I talked to first, and I said, "Hey, this is before the aftermath."
Before he went a bit cuckoo.
No, not a bit cuckoo. He's psychotic. And I'm scared for him. I'm honestly scared for him that, I think he has a child now, and I think Scientology blackmailed him into coming back in.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Marty, really, until I saw him with Mike, and really it was the only reason why I was willing to talk to him, because he was a friend of Mike's, and also because he was putting things on the internet that people needed to read about what was really going on in Scientology as an executive. And if you look at Marty's affidavits, statements that he's given under sworn testimony, I mean, he admits to obstructing justice. He admits to destroying evidence. I mean, so to me, he was doing the right thing. He was on the right side of this fight, and I think they blackmailed him because he was trying to adopt a kid. And the only way you can do that to get back into good graces with Scientology is to then attack those who you befriended and who befriended you. And I had asked Marty, is there something we should be doing? Maybe like a round table. Maybe we should all be talking together, having an open discussion about what we've all gone through. And he's like, "Well, I don't know. What is it?" I said, "Well, I don't know, Marty. I'm just like pitching ideas. Like, what should we be doing? I feel like I should join the fight with you guys. I just feel like." And Marty, it's funny. Marty turned that into something else, of course, on his videos. That I said it could be whatever we want it to be. We can write it. I mean, like, so now he's twisted my words, and I've maybe had 3 conversations with Marty in my whole lifetime, and that was it. But then again, Amy Scobie and her mom contacted me and wanted to send a message to the world. We didn't exactly know what we would do with it, and then met with IPC, the production company, and I said, I really don't know. I just feel like this is a path that I need to be on. I need to help these people. I need to get their voices out there. Not that I was the first one doing it, but I wanted to help the motion. And Mike and I became friends. I mean, we just, that's how our relationship started. I wanted Mike to be part of it, being that Mike was the head of OSA, and did a lot of these dirty things to people in his Scientology career. And the fact that Mike was willing to do it, didn't ask, am I being paid? Is this going to damage my life? He was like, yep, love to.
Was it challenging, though, to make the transition from actress and believing Scientologist to actress, ex-Scientology activist, and investigative journalist, all in a very short space of time?
No, it just felt very natural to me because it's something that I knew, and it's really just listening to people's stories that I know are true, because I've been there.
Yeah.
And I know these things are true, and so it just felt very easy for me to sit there in a certain way because I know the policies they're referring to, but very difficult to hear for me the amount of pain Scientology has caused people. Even though I was not privy to that information.
Sure. And were there any challenges shooting the Aftermath that kind of really surprised you or that you couldn't have foreseen at the beginning?
Well, the vetting process and the legal process is a very serious thing.
Yeah.
And I was very, it was a learning experience in that way. There were some shows that were shelved for whatever reason. And that hurt. Yeah. That hurt me and Mike for the contributor who showed up. I was surprised Scientology sent in a plant on another episode, and this kid took money from the Aftermath Foundation.
Wow.
Got a car out of it, got support from it, got flown here to film the show, and then he was a plant the whole time. And their plan was, because Scientology pretends they act like they don't know we're telling the truth, but they were hoping that we would say, so you need to say this or need to say, but that doesn't go on this program, and you know that because you've done it.
Yeah.
So we had to shelve that show. So it was things like that I was shocked about, but also, certain things that just couldn't air for reasons that are beyond my control. That was devastating to me. And the fact that, Mike and I really can't be proactive is something I couldn't deal with anymore.
And were there any moments during season 3 in particular that really stand out as being kind of emotionally overwhelming for you?
I think when it came to what Scientology does to cover up the crimes, I mean, I wanted to pull my hair out of my head.
Yeah.
I just can't, and dealing, trying to get law enforcement involved, and the red tape that you have to deal with, anybody would get a fair trial, but if it's Scientology, even the authorities are like, well, so all of that is just shocking to me, just shocking and heartbreaking, because I'm very, Pollyanna in a way, where I just believe in good and evil, and I believe in good winning.
Yeah. That was one of my mum's favourite films, that Pollyanna.
What, baby?
That was one of my mum's favourite films, Pollyanna. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so that was that's heartbreaking, because people think I'm street smart, right? But at the same time, very naive when it comes to the law and life and people. I mean, most of my friends were Scientologists. All of my family were Scientologists. And, coming out to the free world, I'm like, wait. No, I'm telling you this. You need to go do something about it. And they're like, well, that's not the law. That's not how the law works. Sure. I'm like, yeah, but she's telling you the truth, so do something, and go arrest this person.
Yeah.
And just kind of very naive in that way. Tell people, like, I'm probably like a 6-year-old where it comes to certain things in life. I'm only 6 years out of Scientology.
You kind of expect the happy ever after where you turn the bad guys over to the cops, but that never actually happens. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, I don't know the law, and I'm learning now what it is that they actually need to move forward. I thought our show was enough. We have been doing things behind the scenes that we're not allowed to. Not allowed, but don't actually want everyone to know. Everything that we do to try to get some justice for people. But we do work around the clock and to try to make this thing right and try to get justice for these victims. And, there's certain criteria, obviously, right? I mean, we wouldn't want to be arrested on what somebody said. But a lot of people don't want to come forward or go to law enforcement because they're scared. But I think we've proven now that you can. And, you might have some, asshole private detective outside your house going through your garbage trying to scare you. But that's all it is just a guy getting a paycheck from Scientology.
Indeed. Has that happened to you, by the way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, They're picketing outside A&E and Disney. They're going to Disney. Mike's daughter's pretending to be a victim of domestic violence, but showing up to Me Too events, Denim Day events, like she's, taking pictures with the mayor and Jackie Lacey, the LADA here in California. I mean, it's asinine. It's asinine. I'm like, where are all these movements for the Scientology community, the victims of Scientology?
Yeah.
Where but it's constant. It's constant. Sending 444 letters in one season to our advertisers, sent by, the Stan League, the front group, the Stan League, pretending to be an organization protecting the religious beliefs of others. It's just bullshit. It's it's smoke and mirrors.
Sure. And Scientology will doubtless feel that their efforts to derail your work have been instrumental in there not being a season 4.
Well, sure. Listen, they on the Stan League, like I said, they're taking credit for us losing advertisers. I could sue them for that.
Right. So you wouldn't you would say that they're not instrumental, that it's just other factors.
No. Yeah. I mean, listen, maybe we lost an advertiser or two because somebody didn't do their homework. But at the same time, I don't want pussy advertisers anyway. So I don't, if you're going to shy away from the real fight, then you should go away.
Sure.
But they should certainly not be celebrating because this is not the end. But, I let them have this, little win because it's like, okay, you feel like it's a win for you that we are moving on to other
it's a kind
other avenues, but that's what they have to do, right? Because they have to sell that to other Scientologists to keep them in. If we did no harm to Scientology, they wouldn't bother.
Sure. I want to ask you about the JW special.
The what?
The JW special, the Jehovah's Witness special.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. I thought you said J. Louise. I was like, I don't know who J or Louise is. Go ahead.
So J. Louise, discuss. So I was obviously very honoured to be involved, and it aired back in November. What made you decide to broaden your focus to include Jehovah's Witnesses?
Lloyd, so many people wrote us. Leah, Mike, help us. Leah, Mike, help us. I felt like I just couldn't turn my back on people asking for my help, and that's who I am in general. I like to help people. This is what I thought I was doing in Scientology, was helping people, right? But I wasn't, and so as I started to look into it, talking to people, seeing the teachings, looking at the videos of the governing body, seeing the stories of children, the 2-witness rule. I was incensed by it.
Yeah. Some would argue that you already had your work cut out fighting Scientology without fighting another cult. Do you have any regrets about doing that special?
Not a one.
Good.
I wish I could have done more.
Is that? Are you telling us that there will be more?
I'd love to do more. Listen, it's. I have a variety of things. Again, I've been in Scientology all my life. I've been sequestered into that life, even though I was an actress. But all of my, all of the things that I was concerned about in the world, Scientology is like, oh, Leah, you want to do something about education and racism and social inequality, just give us $50,000. We have a front group that is doing things in that area. Oh, Leah, you want to combat this, the prison system, how much money we put into prisons, the disparity between that and education in our inner cities. Oh, Leah, just give us money. We do that. So that's what I was doing with my Scientology career. Giving them money, thinking I was saving these things or helping these things to be better. I came out, I'm like, no, that it's not better. None of that money that I gave to Scientology front groups helped any of these things.
Sure. So you're now kind of doing what you can. And speaking for myself, I know that lots of people have approached me and said that special was kind of instrumental in them kind of turning a corner and breaking free. Have you had many people kind of approach you about that special?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, people come up to me with tears in their eyes, same with Mike, saying thank you. And I'm like, did you call your mom? Did you call your daughter? I'm like, oh, okay, we did something good. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to know that somebody opened their eyes. And it doesn't matter if it's, something as extreme as what you and I are talking about, right, with Scientology and Jehovah's Witnesses, right? But there's other ideologies that break up families because their daughter's gay or their son is gay, and this needs to stop. We need to we cannot have religion, dictating that you shouldn't be talking to your son or daughter or your mother or father. Now, I'm assuming that we're talking about healthy mothers and fathers, right?
Sure.
Not toxic relationships, right?
Well, speaking of it stopping, on the JW side, we're seeing increasing scrutiny from the governments since the Australian Royal Commission. We've seen governments starting investigations in New Zealand, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And I'm going to be attending some hearings for the ICSA inquiry in the UK early next year. Are you surprised that Scientology hasn't received similar attention?
Shocked, and saddened by it. Again, Scientology, people are, I don't know what, if they're scared of Scientology, but they should know they're just bullies, and they should be taken to task, and they should, we should be doing what you guys are doing in other countries. We're just not doing that here.
I can only hope that it's just a case of the penny dropping eventually, because already in America, we're seeing the governing body starting to get subpoenaed to appear in court cases. So and I know David Miscavige is no stranger to the courtroom, but you would think that he can't just kind of carry on with total impunity forever.
No, like I said, I believe, Lloyd, in the end, the truth will come out, and those responsible, it will end, Lloyd. It just is going to take more time and more energy, and I hopefully have more time because God knows I have the energy to go after it.
You really do. I know that firsthand, having seen that kind of passion in your eyes about it.
Yes, and you've received many, many emails from me. And you even said, "Do you ever sleep?"
Yeah, we were really working hard, weren't we, in the build-up? But I think it paid off.
Yeah, because I wanted you guys to be heard, and because I knew nothing about it, I didn't want to disrespect your stories and the pain that you've been through, as well as people who are currently in it. I just didn't want to get it wrong. I felt a huge responsibility to do it right.
And if I could just say, while I have you as a captive audience, I really do appreciate the attention to detail and the enthusiasm to get things 100% accurate on your part. And I knew that you were the driving force behind that, and it really paid off. So thank you so much for that.
Couldn't do it without you. So thank you, and thank you for what you've been doing, Lloyd, for people, and what you will continue to do.
But on Monday, we have the last ever episode of The Aftermath. How does it feel, and what can audiences expect?
Well, we're sad. I'm saddened by it ending, but I know that we need to take it to another level. to bring some real change down, on this organization, and for them to stop hurting people and hurting children specifically. But you're going to hear from Sea Org members who were molested, raped, and non-Sea Org members, and how Scientology again covers it all up. I mean, we're not taught the words pedophile, molestation, rape. We're not taught those words. So, again, it's all your fault, and the victim is blamed in Scientology. And so you're going to hear stories about how that is, how that's currently still happening in Scientology, and will continue to happen. And hopefully, this last episode will open up somebody's eyes. Hopefully, catch the attention of the FBI or local police. There are all these civil lawsuits that have been filed, and so I think we've done amazing of gaining the support of everyone who's listening. Without you guys, we couldn't have done it, and we're going to continue the fight, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
Sure. And one final question, because I know you have to dash to another interview. Obviously, not as important an interview as this. But not my favorite. Not your favorite of the day. We can establish that. I often hear from people who feel trapped in Jehovah's Witnesses, either because their husband or wife expects them to believe and they're terrified of their relationship disintegrating, or perhaps a teenager has woken up but their parents expect them to stick with it. What would be your message to those who feel trapped in a cult and can't imagine ever breaking free?
They just need to do their research. They need to quietly research and themselves, because I don't think anybody can force you out. But no organization should be scared of somebody looking on the internet or talking to people who used to be in. And I think talking to people who you can trust, who are out now, is important. And eventually you can make your move to leave and think for yourself. And some relationships you might have to leave behind, because we shouldn't be living a life where we're being told we can or cannot talk to somebody because of religious beliefs. Again, we're not talking about somebody, who's, I'm not going to allow my friend to sit there and put heroin in her body, you know what I mean, and continue to be her friend. I'm going to take a hard stance, right?
Yeah.
And say, I can't talk to you unless you get help. I'm willing to be there for you and help you and give you all the resources. We're talking about people who mean you no harm, who want you to do well in life, who don't want you to give up your belief in God, whatever God that is for you. You don't need to go and do drugs or be promiscuous, but you also don't need to be in a cult to not do those things.
Sure.
So I just tell people, reach out to people that you trust and do your research, and in your heart what the right thing to do is. And I think people know the answer. But you have to take the step.
Very wise words. Thank you so much, Leah. And just
Lloyd, my pleasure.
And just a reminder that the finale of The Aftermath is on A&E. Is it 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday?
Do I? No. Listen, I don't know what the hell these channels are. I really don't. 9 here, there, 6 in LA. You got to check your local listings.
It's on Monday. Check your listings, but don't miss the finale. And Leah, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Okay, baby. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, bye, honey.
Bye.
Bye, honey.
So, viewers, I hope you have enjoyed that interview. Please, again, do check out the finale of Leah Remini, Scientology, and The Aftermath on Monday in whatever time zone it's playing there in America. I hope you've enjoyed this interview. Please don't forget to subscribe to the John Cedars channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.